What's up, everyone? I'm gonna take the first actual video of my mini farm project. Started last spring construction. It's about 60 by 80. Used white cedar poles for the fencing. The fencing poles, I should say. Use some chicken wire for the netting. Keep the deer out. Had to make it really tall, about 8 feet. Stop the deer from jumping over. Got the poles about 3 feet in the ground. They're 9 feet tall. 9 feet out of the ground. They're 12 footers. Got to put a gate on it still. For now I got this fence leaning up against it. It's doing the job, but I need to do something about it. Planting things in increments every 2 weeks since Mother's Day. See what I could come out with. It's more of an experiment than anything this year. See what I could get away with. See what works, see what doesn't work. But for the most part, it's been a success. See, this is the second plot of corn. It's coming in pretty good. Looking at a harvest in about 3 weeks, I think. Some eggplant hugging the corn. I actually thought it was going to die, so I planted the corn right next to it, and voila, it lived. So now it's a bit crowded, but still working out. Overgrown basil. Let's take a walk around the corner. Have some spent broccoli. Already harvested a bunch, but it's still shooting up. Some tops here. I could pick every week or two. I'll get a bowl. Some celery. A little bit of kale, and a giant forest of peppers. All types of peppers, ranging from bell, gypsy, and up the Scoville scale. Have jalapenos, cherries, habaneros, cayenne, ghost peppers, a little bit of everything. I think I got some chili peppers in here somewhere too. Got some air prune buckets for experiments. I put 2 plants in each bucket to see how it would work out. It's choking them out a little bit, so I should have made it 1 plant per bucket. I'll get away with it, but smaller fruits, unfortunately. Put these, probably go over these buckets in a different video. This is just a quick run through. Got a spent patch of zucchini. This was actually planted Mother's Day. It's pretty beat, but I'm actually still getting things out of it, believe it or not. I mean, this thing has been attacked. It's been either by weeds or squash bugs, and they're still pumping out a bunch. I don't know how many pounds I got out of it, but it's been a lot. Here's a late summer planting of summer squash, yellow squash, and some type of green. Never planted either one, but these were, I started these in mid-July, so hopefully I'll get something out of it before fall hits. We'll see. Here is a fence trellis that I put together. If you Google indestructible fence trellis, I think you'll come up with the directions for this. It's just cheap conduit over some rebar that's hammered in the ground, and I wove the netting myself with 3/8 inch rope. I have beans on this one right here. About 6 foot tall wall and 10 feet long. Can't talk enough about these trellises. You could even use them for tomatoes. Let's weave the tomatoes right up through the rope. Had a really rainy season in New York, unfortunately. You'd think it was a blessing not having to water your garden, but what it causes is a lot of rot. Had a lot of early blight on these tomatoes, had to cut a lot out. So I like to aggressively prune them anyway, but as you can see, I had to rip a bunch out of here. Still getting a ton. I mean, the amount I've picked so far is unbelievable. I have plum tomatoes, grape, cherry, and a couple big varieties. But still we'll get a bunch out of here, I tell you that. Had to put some braces up though. Weight became a little bit much for the conduit. These guys are almost 8 feet tall. These cherry ones come in pretty tall sometimes. Lost all my cucumbers to early blight. Unfortunately, I did get a really good harvest out of it. Made a ton of pickles. Salad cucumbers. I mean, I had a bunch before it finally gave in to the early blight. But you live and you learn. Next year, I'm not going to crowd them as much, and I might have to treat them if it's another rainy year. More peppers. Jalapenos coming in. This is my out of control strawberry bed. 3 different types of strawberries, 2 June bearing, 1 ever bearing. Just renovated it not too long ago. They sure grow like weeds, and if you don't have them in this above ground bed, they'd run away from you. A lot of maintenance on these. Over here is just experiment in a corner under low light conditions to cut this big tree down before next year. It's just giving me way too much shade, this big maple. It's being ravaged by caterpillars, but I'm just gonna let it go at this point. Might rip it up. I have a couple eggplants over here in the corner coming in slowly. A bit of leaf lettuce. Right here we have my grape trellis, high cordon system for 4 American grapevines. Can't tell you the names off the top of my head right now, but American grapevines go downwards, so they're going to grow up on here, and I'll tie them along here, this lateral line, and then they'll go downwards. That's number 2. Number 3 likes getting fungus all the time. I don't know what's up with that, but as you can see right there, I don't know if the camera's going to focus, but this one's very aggressive, coming in really well. The sun's coming up. Can't really get a good angle on it, but had to anchor these two. Anytime you got a high tension wire pulling them in, I don't want the wood to bend, so I needed a return force. Double T trellis for raspberries. They grow up and they just lean over these lines. 2 varieties, both ever bearing. Gearing up right now for the fall harvest. As you can see, gonna get a ton. This is only the 2nd year, and they're coming in really well. 3 different types of blackberries, including the Kiowa. I think it's the biggest variety in the world. 1 thornless, and these, but this is not thornless right here. This is a briar patch for sure. I don't want to get caught in this. This is also gearing up for a fall harvest. Some blossoms. I have some cold weather crops here. Some Brussels sprouts, aiming for about a October, November harvest. Some broccoli. A little bit of romaine. Using a plastic mulch on this side. Got tired of weeding. This plastic really works out well. Doesn't burn anything. Doesn't get too warm underneath like you'd think it might. This is the tree section. All dwarf rootstocks. Apricot. Some plum. Another plum. Another plum. Tried making it so that they're pollinators of each other, but at the same time they harvest at different times. Same thing with the peaches. This peach was put in this year, these two last year. Really trying to keep these short. I know they're dwarf rootstocks, but I still want to keep them about 6 feet. Want a bush, not a tree. We'll see. Never grown these before. Should have some fruit sets next year, hopefully. 5 apples. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Again, these are all, a few of them are pollinators of each other, but I made it so that they harvest at different times. One variety fruits in August, or harvest is in August, and then the next variety is September, end of September, October, and so on. I think the granny apples right here, I think they're early November. Could be wrong on that. I think that's the late one. 2 cherry trees. This one's being destroyed by something. I turned my back on it for a week and now it looks like this. I don't know whether it was a caterpillar or a fungus. I don't know, I'll have to watch it. High T trellis system. So I have to do some work cleaning up this wiring, going through the one-way vise, wire vices. This is for a hardy kiwi, a female plant. Accidentally weed whacked this one down at the beginning of the season, but it's coming back. It's going to grow up this wire all the way to the top, and then next year it will hopefully spread across all the wires for a canopy. This is the male part of the kiwi, pollinator. This is really aggressive. We got to do some work and cut it apart, make sure it doesn't choke itself out. Make sure it's growing in the right direction, on the right lines. Some sunflowers. Had to put some netting on these already. At least this one, the birds started to get to work on it. It's ripening up now. A batch of corn in the corner that didn't really work out due to low light conditions. Should get some small corn out of it. It was all knocked down by a rainstorm too, which didn't help. It's a pumpkin patch, overgrown by weeds. Had a bad vine borer attack. Pretty much destroyed 95% of the crop. I mean, some vines survived. This one right here, make it a nice sized pumpkin. These are late batches of corn. This one was planted really late. Hopefully I'll get something in October. We'll see. These are small, probably tough to see, but got cranberries, 3 cranberry plants. Bushes, whatever they're called. Blueberry bushes here. 3 different types. I didn't know the pH had to be so low with these. I think the pH is supposed to be about 4.5 or 5. I got a pH closer to 6. So I'm gonna have to correct that for next year. They're coming along. There's an above ground herb garden. I got tired of having herbs on the ground and all the weeds fighting everything, so took this steel table, built a small foundation underneath it, and then I loaded it with dirt after I put the liner in, some drainage holes. Used a thick 6mm white plastic for the liner. Got a lot of things growing here, some rosemary, lavender, lemon balm, a couple different types of parsley, couple thyme, oregano, just overgrown. Probably should just cut it down at this point. Garden sage, 3 different types of mint. I have chocolate mint here, some spearmint and peppermint. See, didn't get much pumpkins this year. I had to pick them prematurely, unfortunately. I mean, got a couple. white pumpkins are pretty interesting. First time I've done them. Here we have watermelons. These all did really good. Some sugar babies, and a bigger variety down on that end. Have them crawling across the plastic here to avoid the weeding. But these even have a little bit of fungus on them, as you can see. It's been really wet. But that concludes the tour of the garden. I'll make smaller videos in the future. I just wanted to get this one done before winter hit. But till next time.